Do you have, like, you've already given a window into some of the things that people work on, but do you actually see that in the system? Can you see what projects and what initiatives they are taking on that, you know, gets them
Yeah,
through that next ceiling?
yeah, absolutely. Like the firms that start leveraging the project-based insights are the ones that typically will go from X to Y the quickest. So they will be understanding what was in the scope of work, the SOW, what's being delivered, how much time is getting tracked against that project, and then on an engagement level, understanding whether the margin that it's getting delivered at compared to the margin that it was sold at is in line or better. Honestly,
So that's
that
like
single
operating
metric,
in the business, right?
yeah,
Making
that's
sure that the metrics related to the specific projects are clear. Everybody understands it. They know the margin on the work.
right.
That's that piece, right?
That's one of the biggest indicators of like whether the firm's going to be on a growth trajectory or not, whether they've got to grips with that. And it's not necessarily just actually what that margin means, although very important, because better margin will mean that you've got more opportunity to reinvest and hire great people, maybe take a hit on some work that is more strategically important. It just shows really good operational discipline, and because it's combining lots of different data points in one place, it shows that they've mastered that. They've understood their pricing, and they have understood some historicals. They are tracking time. They're running engagements properly. Like, there's a number of things that just culminate in that one piece of insight that's a really good demonstration for firms.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's foundational, right? When you understand the specific projects, the work you're doing, and how each one of those is a microcosm of the business, then I always refer to that in the operating category.
Right.
The next one that we see tends to be around leadership. And I think
Okay.
you alluded to that earlier, where all of a sudden it's not just the individual who's, you know, the leader, and it's not that founder's bottleneck, but it's the I start identifying true professionals. I bring them in, and my metrics are related to how am I leading.
Right. How
That's
much
what we
time are
tend
you
to see.
spending on yourself and on the business rather than actually having to do 90% client work, being large. And lots of leaders still love to that being involved in the business. I completely get it, but you do need to have time that you spend working on more of the strategic things. And actually, we've got some data that we've seen that intimates that over the past 3 years, execs are spending less time on that. That's an area they enjoy the most, but they just haven't got the time to get around to doing it. So that's something that I think is really interesting. Like, if you are listening to this, like, to reflect on, like, are you falling into that same trap as we statistically are seeing is happening across a number of different firms? And how do you get out of that? How do you get out of that space? And what's really interesting as well is when I speak more sort of like qualitatively with the rung below the execs, over the period of time that I've been working with professional service firms, let's say the past 3 or 4 years, and I have hundreds of meets every year with these types of people, is they don't feel like they're trusted as much, and they've not got as much empowerment, and they are not capable of delivering as much because of like the structure and the hierarchy they're operating. So there's this real disconnect between leaders want to spend more time in the business, but doing less of it and having less time to do so. The rung below wanting more trust, but not getting it. We might have reached an inflection point there, I would hope. And it's all about then downward communication, isn't it? Making
Yeah.
sure that there's transparency. What's the vision of the business? Who's going to deliver this and take this forwards? I would love it if we could capture all of that inside of CMap, that sort of like more qualitative insight. But there's some quantitative stuff that just is demonstrating that that's a challenge for boutiques at this moment in time.